Okay, guys, the new watch list is up for quarter four of 2022, and some of these are a long time coming. Some of them I didn't see them putting an errata together until after the rules change that draws with Batman team up. But we're gonna go over them real fast, try to guess at what they are going to be. This is kind of a futile process, honestly, because they could do anything as far as they could really do anything they want with these pieces. It's their game. Whatever they want to do with it, they can. There's a couple pieces that I really hope they don't change too much, but at the same time, there are a lot of pieces on here. Most of the pieces on here do need to change, and I'm glad to see that they're finally getting the attention that they deserve. So we have Sakarian, Iron Man, Magic, Thanos, and type them up here so we have them as we go through these pieces. Thanos was one. Apocalypse was one. It is the Legacy Apocalypse. And then what else was there? Scarab and Mad Jim Jaspers and Wonder Woman. So, Wonder Woman. I hope she doesn't get terrible. Scarab, Mad Jim, and then Wonder Woman. God, she's so good. I hope they don't completely demolish her. Okay, so these are the pieces that are going through the, WizKids grinder right now. That is the watch list slash errata page. So first, let's look at Sakari and Iron Man and see what they're going to change about him. His trait says at the beginning of the game, you may generate up to 3 standard objects anywhere on the map, at least 5 squares from one another. When Sakarian Iron Man picks up a standard object, you may instead place it on his card if less than 2 standard objects are on his card. If Sakarian Iron Man modifies his combat values by +1 for each standard object on his card, and at the beginning of your turn may choose 1 standard speed or attack power for each standard object on his card to use until your next turn. When Sakarian Iron Man would be dealt damage from an opponent's attack, you may remove a standard object from his card to take 1 unavoidable damage instead. So, this is the trait that they're probably looking at. The outwit and perplex thing doesn't really matter too much. I don't see them making any changes to this guy that we don't already play with. I believe there's some miswording in that trait that needs to be rectified, but the community has been playing with that understanding for a while now. I think these standard blocks do they have? They did get an errata for that. Okay, so man, I hope he comes back okay. The most I could see them doing for against this guy is like maybe once per turn, he may remove a standard object from his card, something along those lines. And even with that being the case, he's going to be a very strong character. Most of the time, you're not removing 2 objects from his card, but it does take away his ability to just run in there and take up actions from your opponent for just 50 points. So that would be an understandable change if they said once per turn he can take off a standard object instead of and be dealt 1 unavoidable instead of dealing the damage that he would take. Um, and I think that's probably the worst they could do to this guy. Oh, I mean, not really. The worst they could do is reduce the number of standard objects he can put on his card, or make him unequipable, something along those lines, so he can't have the cloak. But my understanding with how WizKids usually does these erratas is the most they could do is say once per turn he may remove a standard object from his card to take 1 unavoidable instead. They like to add as little wording as possible and keep it as simple as possible when they issue these erratas, and he has a very complex trait. I don't see them wanting to reword the whole thing just in order to placate some people unable to kill this guy. Because, well, I mean, some people. Nobody is able to kill this guy. He's only 50 points, so like people had to go through a whole turn just to kill 50 points worth of character. That's what makes him so good. So I can see the need for an errata, but at the same time, I really hope they don't errata him. He's one of my favorite characters to play with, and I paid money for this piece, so if they errata him, I'm going to be uh not I won't be upset, but I'll feel a little let down. And that's understandable, and you had to take these things into account whenever you buy pieces. Is they're broken for a reason. That's because WizKids doesn't take in past sets to account whenever they make the current set. So with Magic, let's go into her real fast because she's going to get nerfed out the wazoo. So with Magic, they didn't take into account the cloak whenever they worded her movement power. That's why it just has a non-cap move. Like it's a lowercase move. So anytime she moves, she can generate a stepping disc marker. That's with sidestep. That's with the new Khazar. Anything else that can grant a free movement to her will allow her to place a stepping disc marker. And with this, and we've gone over this, like she can get in our Agatha or Scarlet Witch and basically your entire team after them up into your opponent's starting area. And that is on the broken side. I won't say it's unbeatable broken. It's not like a second turn win, guaranteed win if you win map or lose map, that kind of thing. But it's definitely something that they probably didn't mean to put into the game, and honestly probably doesn't need to be in the game. I I don't, I don't. I have this piece, and you know, I still don't want to use her because it just feels like cheating at that point. Whenever you're able to, I pulled this incredibly strong super rare, so I can break, not break the game, but I can, get my entire, I can shrink the map to like a quarter of its original size and make it so that, you don't have any powers or abilities with my Scarlet Witch. So this piece definitely needed an errata. I'm glad that she's getting the attention she needs before any major tournaments happen. I know there's a big one going on in Orlando in January, so I'm glad that she's getting. And they issued some house erratas, but I'm glad that she's getting an actual WizKids errata. And going into that real fast, I don't appreciate house erratas. I know a lot of people like them, and when you're playing at your local venue and everything like that, that's fine. Everyone's agreed to them and it's understood. But when you have a major event like the one in Orlando and you issue house erratas just for that event, it kind of, and for pieces that haven't, gotten errata, like so they errated Maggot, which has been out for a year and a half now. It's about to go into retirement. They errated Maggot to make him unique, which WizKids never did. So they're basically going over WizKids' head for a major event to errata a piece, and um, they errated some of the ones. I think everything else on the watch list got errated with them, which that I understand a little bit more. But when you errata a piece that's been out for a year and a half and you change it to suit like to, to I don't know why you would do that. Why would you go over WizKids' head, the people that made the game that understand what's in the game, and they just issued a watch list and Maggot's nowhere on the watch list. Why would you have an errata for a piece that WizKids isn't worried about? It just brings in, okay, so are we going to play separate rules for every event going forward that's not WizKids sanctioned? Then, and if that's the case, then we all have to be careful about what we buy. I don't appreciate it. That all that being said, I don't appreciate house errata for pieces that have been out for a while. Um, Okay, so Magic definitely needed an errata. The Legacy Apocalypse, they're going to make him unique. This is the errata that's going to happen, so that no one can play three of these guys. They're hard to. One of them is hard to kill. Three of them is harder to kill. And honestly, it's fun to play. I know Jason Alfie had a fantastic time playing all three of them, and I'm glad he did. And he placed fourth, and he got his money's worth out of them when he sold them. So and with everything else he won. So I'm extremely happy for Jason. He's a great dude, and I'm glad he was able to capitalize on this situation. But at the same time, this was a piece that presented a problem right when Worlds was kicking off. So I'm glad he's getting attention he needs to make him unique. I don't see them changing too much else with him. He operates a lot like other characters that we have in the game. The main problem is running more than one of him, and that's all I can see them doing with him. Is just making him unique. That leads us into Scarab. Now, Scarab, with the new equipment rules and how they're trying to make it easier for characters to be equipped, you could kind of see this coming. Um, I don't know what they're going to do to change him. It's going to be on his probably on his damage power only that needs to be changed. Scarab can count squares for range and line of fire from unheld objects and opposing equipped characters. When Scarab attacks this way, he deals a maximum of 1 damage. So the main reason why this is an issue is because you can equip the radioactive clay to an adjacent character. He can take the effect of that equipment with his trait, and then he can mind control from across the map from anyone that's equipped. So this was a super powerful ability when he dropped, but now with them trying to make equipping easier, it kind of flies in the face of that. So you could kind of see this one coming down the pipeline for him, especially because there's going to be I'm expecting a butt ton of characters out of Batman Team Up that just come equipped. So they would have to take a power action to unequip their item and then have some way to, sidestep pick up their item so that Scarab couldn't attack them. So I don't see a problem with him getting an errata. Honestly, I would have been fine with them errata giving him a change whenever he first dropped, but um, it would have been less warranted then. Now it's probably a little bit more warranted. I'm guessing. I don't know if they're just going to do away with that power. I don't know what they're going to do with that because that's it just flies in the face of everything they can do. They're trying to do. They might just say he can draw a line of fire from unheld objects, and that's it. Which still wouldn't be bad, but it definitely wouldn't. It would definitely drive a lot of people away from playing him because he was so powerful, and drawing line of fire from opposing equipped characters was the main way that he was able to draw lines of fire. Because if you play him with a bunch of light objects or heavy objects out there, all your opponent has to do is destroy those, and then they're safe. So playing him, yeah, his change is probably going to be Scarab can count squares for range and line of fire from unheld objects. When Scarab attacks this way, he deals a maximum of 1 damage. They're probably just going to delete this and opposing equipped characters from his card. Mad Jim Jaspers, they are going to. What I see them doing is saying choose an equipped standard friendly character within range and line of fire, replace their equipment with another equipment of equal or less points, and then power. Once per game, choose a friendly standard unequipped character or unequipped standard character within range and line of fire, and choose an equipment from your sideline. Equip the chosen character with the chosen equipment. This is strictly just to prevent people from, in the middle of the game, equipping their non-standard characters. Uh, yeah, yeah, because with the new rules change, it gets rid of non-standard characters cannot be equipped from the comprehensive rules book, and it just says non-standard characters can't be assigned equipment because that's the change they're going into, right? Without equipment being on the map, you are assigning equipment to your characters before the game starts or when you're building your force. So the only piece that really allows you to equip a non-standard character in the middle of the game is Mad Jim Jaspers. So that's the only change I really see them doing with him. This is not to mean that you cannot equip a non-standard character in the middle of the game. If someone drops their equipment and then your non-standard character picks it up and then equips it, then they can do that. Without sidestep, that's 3 actions to do this though, so it's got to be a very good non-standard character for that to occur, or for you to want to do that. And that brings us to Wonder Woman. This was my favorite Con LE that I got. I really, man, she's crazy good, and I understand the need for it. But man, her trait was so good. So her trait, once per game, when a friendly standard character would be KO'd, including Wonder Woman, you may instead turn that figure to their last non-KO click, then roll a d6 and heal them equal to half the result protected pulse wave. So this was basically a, what's that Yu-Gi-Oh card? The Return from the Grave or whatever it is, for one character on your team. So the reason why this is an issue is because there are a lot of pieces that could take extreme advantage of just being hard to kill, and then um, her bringing them back to life. So what I'm assuming they're going to do, and this is going to suck, but she's still going to be good for bringing on Dark Knights and Justice League to the Amazon keyword. What I see them doing is saying once per game, when Wonder Woman would be KO'd, when this character would be KO'd, essentially, you may instead turn her to a last non-KO click, roll a d6, and then heal her equal half the result. Getting rid of other friendly standard characters. That would be the worst they could do to her, in my mind. And honestly, that kind of it doesn't really gut her because she's still really good. Especially if you're able to get the Soul Sword on her. Still extremely good, right? But man, it's gonna hurt. I really like this piece, and I was really excited to build around it. In fact, it was going to be my next theme team keyword build, but with her going into the grinder, I'm going to hold off on that. Um, I might not. I might just, put it out there, build it, and then um, give you guys a quick rundown of what the errata could be for her in that video. But those are the pieces that are on the watch list and what I think they might do. If you guys have any thoughts, concerns, or comments, please put them down below. If I'm completely wrong about these changes, also please let me know. I would love to be wrong. And also with Sakari and Iron Man, if there's a wording thing that I'm missing, because I've seen it in some of the Discord servers that he has a wording problem with his trait, but I'm not sure what it is. If you do know what that is, please put it in the comments. I would love to know. And um, with that, that's all the information that we really got from the watch list, but some additional information that I believe will happen just from my experience in the past. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. And thanks for giving me your time. Peace.